All right, so this is my first World War III update of 2025. Needless to say, the first 48 hours can be best described as a raging inferno in a crack house. Not a crack house, a meth house. That's what the kids are doing nowadays. A meth house, ass-to-ass meth heads tweaking out while sirens go off, fireworks are going off, cars are driving through buildings, the rats are nibbling at the patient's feet. Everything is just going to hell in a handbasket, as they say, and we're only on day 2. So here's what's going on in the world, guys. We're going to give you the 30,000-foot view first before we dive into the details of what's going on here today. And boy, do we got a lot of details to share with you today. Things you ain't going to hear anywhere else. Here's the deal. Every single currency in the world, every currency is crashing against the US dollar, okay? Well, of course it is, you say, because the US economy is doing great, right? People are making money hand over fist. Nobody is living hand to mouth, right? Everybody is just banking it. Nobody's in debt. The stock market is fairly valued. There's no wars going on. Everything is just dandy, right? Well, let's look at the reality of the situation. Right now, the US is seeing record debt levels, record deficits, record property prices. It's come down a little bit. Record credit card debts, record credit card interest rates. Everybody is living damn near paycheck to paycheck, yet you somehow have more people earning 6 figures than ever before. And that's because there's been no deflation, right? So people are just getting by. The stock market today, and I got the receipts to prove it, is more overvalued than at any time in history. We've officially done it, my friends. We have now exceeded the dot-com bubble level of irrationality. We've exceeded it. We're there. So you know what this means? It's a great time to buy. Oh boy, this is going to end badly. So why on earth is everybody flocking to the US dollar? Well, it's quite obvious. It's the best of the worst. And when you know a major global crisis cometh this way, guess what? You go for the best of the worst. Well, first you go for gold, which they're already going for. And honestly, gold as measured in Canadian dollars, which is a better metric because the US dollar, you know, people measure gold in US dollars and they think, oh, gold is down $200 in the last month, but the US dollar is up. So in Canadian dollars, it's a better metric. Gold is at record highs, right? Because the Canadian dollar, like many other currencies, are being destroyed by the US dollar as everybody tries to get out because they know a major war is coming. In the very least, we have a major recessionary period coming and people are looking for economic safe havens. What are those? Well, typically they're going to be gold, nowadays cryptocurrencies, other commodities perhaps, and of course the global reserve currency, which is the US dollar. So that's what's happening. We're about to witness a major crisis unfold. Let's hope that it's only some recessionary spat, but I have a feeling that is going to be deeper and much, much worse for reasons we're going to get into today. Okay, now as you can see on the screen here, where should we really begin? Where should we begin the talk today? What are we at? 3.4 minutes. We haven't even begun yet. Oh boy. Okay, so in South Korea, right now, Kim smoking a fatty because he is watching, and yes, that's AI, I know, Poindexter in the comment section is going to be, hey, that's not a real image. I'm reporting this. It's AI, bro. Get over it. Kim, look at that. He's watching South Korea burn. You know how many prompts I had to put in to get this right? To get Grok to do this shit? Looks good, doesn't it? Okay, so here's what we got. The president is trying to be arrested by the police force, and there's other police force and military who are backing the president, who are resisting. Of course, this means a civil war is very, very possible in South Korea. But as we learned with the whole implementation of martial law, these things come as fast as they go. I'm sure there's a sexual joke in there somewhere. So who knows? By tomorrow, this whole thing can be cleared up. He could be in custody and it's game over. And, you know, they give him the cyanide pill and everything goes back to normal. But you just never know. So we're going to have to see how this all plays out. After that martial law was implemented and then basically repealed immediately, you know, do you even pay attention to this stuff anymore? Because it's like you don't know what it's going to be from day to day. It's such a fluid situation. Anyways, everybody right now, of course, is fixated on the recent spat of what appear to be maybe loosely connected domestic terroristic events. Of course, Alex Jones is going to be having a heyday. I'm sure he's used the word MK Ultra more than he ever has in his life. Because, I mean, where do we even begin? I don't even want to talk about this stuff because, quite frankly, within a few days, nobody's going to be talking about this, okay? We're all going to be on to the next crisis. I mean, think of how many of these events have happened just in the past year. Yes, it is incredibly coincidental, not coincidental, that several of them happen within the span of 24 hours, and they all have this common denominator that appears to be Fort Bragg. Sure, it's very suspicious that they allowed this reporter who is tightly bound in yoga pants and looks like she just got her nails done into the crime scene to do a report, into the suspect's home, one of his homes, where he conveniently had a Quran open to a verse, as you can see here. I'm not sure what verse it was, but just so we don't have any confusion about whether or not he was a radical Islamist that is going to necessitate us going and starting another war, likely with Iran, okay? And he has his little Santa's workshop where he builds bombs and stuff, all right? Yeah, she was just allowed into this crime scene where they were conducting an investigation. It looks as though the cops really did a good job raiding the place. The doors kicked in, and they just kind of left it like that. You know, just, yeah, all right, we got what we need. You know, a major attack that has all kinds of implications to global terrorist organizations. They just leave the door open. And then, you know, what's strange about these things, though, is I got to say, you know, I watched one video of this guy. And this guy did not seem like the kind of guy that would do this. Okay, I'm not saying he didn't do it. He clearly did it. But was there some weird Havana syndrome, you know, Neuralink fuckery going on, CIA meddling? Who knows? At this point, you know what? I mean, honestly, look at this guy. This guy here. This was apparently an upstanding member of society. He even had his Slava Ukraina shirt on, just like this other nut job here who wanted to kill Trump. Remember that guy? Isn't that weird how they all have that in common for some reason? You would think that by now, if they were CIA, they would drop the whole Slava Ukraini Act, especially if they wanted to, you know, actually win people's support for these sorts of things. But apparently this guy was pretty normal. But you never know, right? You just never know. Now, some people are suspecting that maybe they got some dirt on these guys and they're trying to extort them, but it would have to be pretty good dirt to convince somebody to take their own life, okay? I mean, think about that. It would have to be pretty major. It would have to be, you know, you have all of their family and all of their children in a room somewhere, and if you don't go and do this, then we're going to take them all out. That's the only, you know, real explanation here. And then there's no guarantees. So, you know, I don't even want to go down this rabbit hole. All I'll say is that Cybertruck, man, it proved people wrong. Now, there is nothing more iconic than a kickoff to 2025 than a flaming Cybertruck in front of Trump Tower. I mean, that's almost an image. I don't have the image here, apparently. I thought I did. Oh, I have this one. I mean, that's almost an image you want to get framed on a wall, not because you support the act or anything, but because it's such a sign of the times. I mean, the sign of how crazy people have become. But say what you want about the Cybertruck, that thing is built tough. I mean, a Ford F-150 would have been split right in half. But this stainless steel frame somehow held up to this, and they say the battery didn't even burn. I don't know if that's true or not. Of course, Elon Musk has a reputation to uphold, Anyways, that's what's going down. And of course, needless to say, Biden now is going to use that as justification. Not sure if I have the slide here, but he's going to use it as justification to go to war with Iran. According to Axios, they're claiming that Biden has disclosed plans for a war with Iran, in such case that Iran gets the bomb. Now, these plans have been drawn up for forever. We've been talking about this forever. I made the mistaken prediction that they would actually be at war with Iran before the election. And I was close, right? Remember, I made that prediction back in January of 2024, before any of the attacks, the missile attacks against Iran happened, for the war with Hezbollah, because I just put two and two together, but it looks like that got postponed. So right now, we still await True Promise 3, but the Biden administration has indeed hatched a plan to attack Iran. Now, what that means, how can they attack Iran meaningfully in a way which is going to possibly forestall their nuclear ambitions? I don't know. That's not very clear, because we know that they don't really have the bunker busting capability to get as deep as they would need. Now, Israel recently did a campaign inside Syria where they sent in a special operations team that actually infiltrated a bunker inside Syria. And I know that they were doing this kind of subterranean training, practicing for taking over nuclear facilities in the past. So I would, after seeing the pager thing, I would not put anything past these people in terms of what sort of clandestine operations they're about to hatch next. Now, China allegedly, actually, you know what? Before we talk about the state of emergency in China because of the white lung thing and the bird flu thing and the price of eggs going through the roof and all that stuff, let's just listen to what Senator John Kennedy has to say. Okay, let's see what this guy has to say. He says some interesting things that are going to be very reminiscent of what Trump said about the drone fiasco. Let's see what he has to say.
Catch these people. Catch these people. You to tell us yet anything that's going to interfere with your investigation. And there are things that I've been told that I think are true that I'm not sharing with you today because it could interfere with their investigation.
Okay.
But after we get to the bottom of this, they need to tell the American people the truth.
That's exactly what Trump said about the drones. Remember? Remember when he didn't want to travel to a place in New Jersey because he was worried about what we all suspect was quite possibly a big bomb of the nuclear sort?
And the people in New Orleans the truth. And the people of America the truth. I think the mayor and the governor are very wise to postpone this ball game for 24 hours. There's just too much stuff we don't know. And it's just not worth it. But I guess my final point is, I will promise you this. I will, when it is appropriate and this investigation is complete, you will find out what happened and who was responsible. Or I will raise fresh hell. And I will chase those in the federal government who are responsible for telling us what happened, like they stole Christmas.
The federal government. So, one could, up until that point, maybe make the argument that perhaps he's talking about local law enforcement and incompetency and failures to protect the population there. But it sounds like there's something much bigger here. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Personally, I think we're going to be on to the next distraction in just a couple days. And the frenetic news cycle pace of things nowadays, it's just one thing after another. I mean, we're only 48 hours in, and so much has happened already that you can barely cram it into a video. Just looking at my time here. Okay, so in China, apparently there's this confluence of different viruses that is currently prompting a state of emergency. And this is one of the scenes at a hospital there, very reminiscent of what we've seen during COVID. I don't know what this really means. Is this different from the baseline amount of people in a hospital at any given time in China? I don't know. But presumably, it looks as though there's some outbreaks of various types of diseases, of seasonal influenza, and some kind of white lung pneumonia situation. Of course, everybody's got the masks on once again. And in BC, this is a x-ray of a teenager who got bird flu. Bird flu, of course, now, which is everywhere, and it appears as though that's a ticking time bomb unto itself. Anyways, this is the lung. I'm not sure what the timeline is here, but this is what it eventually became. So this is a disease that has at least historically, a 60% fatality rate. So if that jumps, perhaps this, I've been thinking that maybe the flocking into the US dollar is somehow related to this, and maybe that's why oil prices have been so suppressed. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense what's going on right now. There's something big coming, because even during the 2008 recession, the US dollar wasn't doing that well. Okay, so there's something different going on here that just makes no real sense. And of course, as I indicated, Biden is discussing plans. So we know this war is coming. It's just a matter of how they're going to balance their use of force with the demands of the Ukrainian front. And I had some people commenting the other day, well, you said 48 hours, things were going to happen. No, if you actually watch the video and you actually read the title, I said in 48 hours, Russia's cutting off the gas. And that's what they did. And this is a major benchmark in hostilities, because right now, Transnistria, this little strip here, this is a Russian exclave. They are home to the largest ammunitions depot in Europe. Well, they are currently without electricity. This is what the streets look like, without electricity and heat. Okay, this is what the streets look like. People are in their homes trying to stay warm. I presume there's people who are in their cars trying to stay warm as well. So Moldova has cut them off. So there's all kinds of energy wars right now raging, because Slovakia is not going to provide Ukraine with electricity. Of course, Slovakia is a NATO member, so that creates a bit of a rift amidst NATO. So, shit's going down, and this is just another potential point of escalation in an already very, very tense situation. We have the Shenen Corridor opening up now to Romania and Bulgaria. Essentially, this is going to allow Europe to have a corridor that allows for the free flowing of military equipment in such case of some sort of war breaking out between Russia and Europe. Of course, many people think that will be short-lived, but essentially it allows military vehicles to pass without having to go through any sort of border checks, and exactly what you would expect if if you're planning on going to war. Now, Wifey of Zelensky, in an interview, she looked like she fits right in the fire in the madhouse here. I don't know, she looked very restless. Look at this face here. See how she looks at the screen there? Let's just go back there. I don't know. I mean, I'm no expert at this, but she looks a little bit nervous. Look at her twiddling them thumbs. She's looking at the camera. She's looking like, what's her face? Our former Minister of Finance. What's her face? Chrystia Freeland, Chrystia, I can't remember. It's not Chrystia, it's one of those names that should sound a certain way but isn't, because their parents wanted them to be special and unique. Well, look at this. I don't know, man. Something's going on. She's looking pretty nervous. And even the people doing the interview are like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Looking very sus. Looking like, are you guys getting ready to split the country? How long are you actually going to be in power? Are you getting ready to pack your bags on us? Oh, man. It's not looking good. But, Ukraine, they're still hammering them. In Kursk, apparently, they're using storm shadows to target some high-ranking officials in the Russian military. So, you know, they're still fighting, that's for sure. And, well, some of them are, because apparently a lot of people are going AWOL in Ukraine. I guess they don't want to just go and fight and die for a pointless cause. Can't blame them, I guess. Ukraine's entire national team disappeared without a trace. Tour de Ski started the new year with a mystery. Apparently they were out competing somewhere. I'm not sure which country they were in, but they just all jumped ship. They just all left. They're like, fuck this. This is our chance. You know, hey, opportunity. This is kind of neat. This is what we can look forward to. This is basically, you know, what they're going to use against us. This reminds me of the movie Matrix Revolutions. Very cool scene where they're defending Zion from all the evil robots. Of course, a lot of metaphor in that statement as well, right? But, you know, it's upon us, man. These, what do you call them? Exoskeleton suits are here. These ones are unique because they can lift up to 1,000 kilograms, which is insane, right? So you can do it. Now, I don't know if that is actually going to be more efficient than just moving a joystick like you would with other heavy equipment like a excavator or something like that. Like, this looks like it would be more tedious, but I'm sure they're going to be able to get it down to a point where it's more efficient. Mind you, if you can do those fine maneuvers and you could scale this up in size, imagine the machines and the capability you could potentially unlock. Unfortunately, will likely be used against us. What is this video? Oh yeah, this is China's new stealth bomber technology. People are saying that the Chinese are copying the Americans, and to that I would say maybe to a certain extent. But anytime a new it's like the pyramids. You know, there's a reason why the pyramids were all the same shape around the world, because it's the shape that made the most physical sense. And, you know, biomimicry will dictate that this is probably one of the most efficient designs. You know, from the side profile, it looks like a falcon, right? So it's just imitating nature. So are they copying us? Does it really matter? No. China is militarizing and mobilizing like at any other time in history. The biggest military buildup since World War II, unveiling sixth-generation fighter craft as well as bombers and numerous other naval vessels. So they're getting ready to go. This is what some of the grocery stores around North America look like due to the bird flu. Egg prices are skyrocketing right now. Let me see if I have the slide for eggs in the U.S. So here are egg prices in the U.S. I think they're actually at a record high right now once again because of what they're calling bird flu. Now, of course, everybody's going to have something to say about that. I'm just going to leave that there. Is bird flu coming? Yes. When? We don't know. Is this time different than previous outbreaks? Absolutely, it is. It is far more endemic in the natural world and in livestock populations concurrently with human infections. The human infections aren't as high as they have been in the past, but I think that is about to change very soon. What else do we got? The US dollar's divergence from fair value. So this is what doesn't make sense, right? Because right now you have the US dollar, the highest divergence from its historical average value in history, and right now everybody's flocking to get US dollars. Just really doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Mind you, nothing really makes sense nowadays. Cattle is at a record high right now. So if you were to buy beef, and this is why I always talk about freeze-dried meat being a hedge against inflation, and actually freeze-dried food in general potentially being an investment. Because if you were to buy beef at the bottom here at 80, when, you know, freeze-dried food was a lot cheaper. I don't know what was the date on that. Oh, that was just 2021. So yeah, I mean, since that time, I would say the price of freeze-dried food went up at least 30%, especially the meats. But you can see that the jump was nearly double, right? So you're now paying way more. And what I usually do is I buy half a cow, because it's just way more cost effective. I go right to the farmer until I have my own cows. That's what I'm doing. And that's the only way you can kind of save money on this stuff. And I'm trying to eat a lot healthier. I don't want to call it a New Year's resolution because I started before, but I've seen a lot of people be very successful on the, what do they call it? The, not the primitive diet, but, eating more meats and vegetables, not quite carnivore, but just going easy on the carbs. I don't believe in being strict on anything. Like, I used to eat more vegetarian foods, but I was never extremely strict. If I really was craving meat, I would have some meat. So I don't think it's good to be religious about things and so that you have to absolutely only eat one thing, even if your body is craving something. I don't think that's good either, but I'm glad that we bought beef when it was around here, and we still have an ample stockpile. And of course, I got a lot of freeze-dried beef that I've been stockpiling from years when it was, cheaper, way cheaper. But beef is through the roof right now. What else do we got? So we got the US dollar index ticking upwards, the highest it's been since November of 2022. We're not too far off the all-time highs. In fact, we have the Chinese 10-year bond yield at record lows against the dollar especially. This signifies that people don't have confidence in the Chinese economy long term. But what they're forgetting is that where the United States has been investing all of their money in wars and all of these rackets that they're running around the world and not building up their infrastructure, China has been spending its money on infrastructure that eventually someday will use in order to produce goods. The only thing they don't have is energy, which is why one of their primary objectives at this point of time is getting pipelines from Russia to China. Russia has all the energy China will ever need. Now, China is going to want to diversify that energy, but China is also making solar panels and diversifying their energy needs at a breakneck pace. And who knows what other kinds of alternative energy are going to emerge in the coming years ahead. So I think people are underestimating the Chinese situation, but I think they're factoring in a war here, and they think that the war is going to do damage to China. The same thing that happened with the ruble. However, the ruble, like all other currencies, is crashing against the dollar for all of the aforementioned reasons. Now, there's likely going to be a major snowstorm, they are saying, coming on the East Coast in the next few days. I've done plenty of videos on winter preparedness. One of the primary things you need is a way to keep warm, an alternative heating source. That could be a diesel heater or a propane heater or a kerosene heater, something of that nature. I would recommend the Heat Hog units that we sell at CanadianPreparedness.com. I'm going to do a dedicated how-to tutorial on all of those units very soon, but I've done plenty of videos on just the physiology of staying warm, how to build shelters, how to stay alive in your car, the different types of clothing that you should consider. And these are all things to consider, but generally speaking, it's been a hot year. I mean, Europe practically doesn't even get winter anymore, and on the whole, we've been well above average in terms of temperature. It's only in the last couple days, in fact, that the entirety of the North American continent has been seeing record low temperatures, okay? This is something, all of the reasons why China is getting ready for war with the United States. I'm not going to get into that today. Yeah, S&P 500, this is incredible. We finally did it. I want to leave you on one final note. This is AI, okay? As you probably can imagine. I'm sure Joe Biden wishes it wasn't. But we got Taylor Swift and Kim Jong. We got Greta and Putin. We got Angela Merkel and some other dude. We got Cardi B and Boris Johnson. We got Kim Kardashian and the Pope. We got Joe Biden creeping on Rihanna. Okay, the reason why I post this is because I'm thinking to myself, what could possibly unify us right now? I'm not into the whole Project Bluebeam thing. No, I think if they're going to concoct some sort of thing that is going to force us to, come together and fight against the common enemy, it's got to be AI. Right? That's the only thing. Like, so we can unify around our humanity, because there's so many dividing lines at this point in time that it seems irreconcilable to somehow find a way forward that is peaceful and not completely destructive. This is really weird watching. Like, this is just, it's just weird, AI is getting way too good for its own good. You pair this with robotics and it's game over pretty much. And this looks real. Like, that looks really weirdly real, man. This is uncanny. It's not even uncanny. It's just, it's kind of uncanny, but it's beyond that. Anyways, that's what I got for you today. Keeping it short and to the point. Only 30 minutes today. Probably could have went, I got like 15 pages of notes that I didn't bother referencing, because most of you, know all this stuff already anyways. While there has been a lot of things happening in the last 48 hours, there hasn't been any major things. Like, most of these things are benign, but when taken as a whole, yeah, it's not good. And I think, anything is possible before January 20th. So just keep on prepping, my friends. I hope I can make it through the month. Never mind the year, the way things are going. Pray for me. Pray for you. I'm praying for you, because I think I'll be fine if the shit hits the fan, at least for a while. This is crazy. This is really crazy. And the funny thing is that Elon Musk tweeted out just a couple weeks ago that 2025 is going to be lit, and he had a picture of a Cybertruck, and it had fire decals on it. So, oh boy, life imitates art. It's almost as if somebody was trying to send him a message. Almost. Anyways, gotta go.